the presser. There's a few cameras looking, so I'm going to be doing mic check for everybody. Mic check, check 1 2, mic check. Check 1 2. I turned it down for you. Okay, all good? Check 1 2. All right, cool. Thanks. Check, check, check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check, check, check 1 2. Check 1 2. I'll hang around. Let me know when you guys give me a thumbs up. Everybody good? Check 1 2. Check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Everyone good? Need another one? Check, check. Check 1 2. Check, check. Anyone need another?
morning, everybody. I'm here with Nick Daniels from NACA. That's the union that the air traffic controllers belong to, as well as Frank McIntosh from the FAA, the ATO organization that manages this portion of the FAA that deals with air traffic controllers. So listen, I had a chance to go speak to some of the controllers here at Newark. We had some donuts, brought some coffee, brought them some pizza, but I wanted to talk to them about what impact this shutdown has on their lives, on their ability to do their jobs. And so these air traffic controllers, they're critical infrastructure. They're critical to the operation of the federal government. So they're required to show up for work. And when they come to work, I want them to think about the departures and arrivals of airplanes. I want to make sure they keep Americans safe and airplanes safe. But what the consistent message was from these controllers was they're not just now thinking about the airspace and the jobs they have to do in these towers or TRACONs or centers across the country. They're thinking about, am I going to get a paycheck? And their paychecks should come a week from tomorrow. And so now what they think about as they're controlling our airspace is, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How do I make my car payment? I have a couple kids at home. How do I put food on the table? I'm working 6 days a week. Do I have to take a second job and drive Uber when I'm already exhausted from doing a job that's already stressful to think about how I can make extra money because the government may not provide me a paycheck? So in a job that's already stressful, this shutdown has put way more stress on our controllers at a time when they're already working on equipment from the 1960s, 1980s, 1990s. We asked them to do their jobs on equipment that has not been state-of-the-art. We asked them to do their jobs on old equipment and keep our airports operational at a time when they don't have the best equipment at their disposal. And so I wanted to hear them out. I wanted to hear their concerns and make sure that that those who shut the government down, I want to make sure that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries know that this is not consequence-free. There are issues that arise throughout America that impact our everyday lives, that can impact our safety when you shut the government down. And again, up in the tower, these are great American patriots. They're American citizens who are serving the American people. And I think it begs the question, why? Why would Chuck Schumer want to shut the government down and focus on people who are not American citizens and their health care and issues that are going to evolve over the next weeks and months that he wants to shut the government down today? And again, I want to be clear. Do I think they're more stressed right now in our towers? Yes. Is our airspace unsafe? No. Right? If we think there's issues in the airspace, we will shut it down. We will close it down. We will delay. But again, it's creating a ripple effect for our controllers. Not only that, many of you know what essential air service is. So essential air service provides airline services to communities that normally would not get it. Right? So we give some subsidies to the federal government that in smaller communities to give them service from the airlines. That money runs out this Sunday. So there's many small communities across the country that will now no longer have the resources to make sure they have air service in their community. The number one user of this airspace is Alaska. Again, you don't have roads in Alaska. They travel by air, and a lot of these are small communities. Alaska will be impacted, but every state across the country will be impacted by the inability to provide the subsidies to airlines to service these communities. Long-standing program, bipartisan support in the House and the Senate. It's an important program, but we don't have the money for that moving forward. One last point. Many of you have heard me talk about surging air traffic controllers, making sure we get more controllers through our academy in Oklahoma City. And then when they get out of the academy, they have to be trained up. And we have a lot of training facilities across the country, but the support staff that train those controllers when they're through the academy are at risk of being laid off. And so what this can do is we're trying to bring more air traffic controllers into the system so we have less delays, less cancellations. it's more challenging to get those students through the academy, but then also trained up in facilities like right here in Newark. So these can have longer lasting impacts at a time when we're trying to supercharge. This shutdown makes it more challenging for us to actually do our jobs. And again, this doesn't just end after the Democrats decide to open up the government. It has a longer lasting impact on our ability to make up the ground in the shortages that we have right now with air traffic controllers. So this is having great impact, great concern, great stress on our system at a time when we're trying to reduce the stress. We're trying to improve the efficiencies. We're trying to increase controllers. We're trying to modernize our airspace. All things that the American people care about. And this shutdown, again, that Chuck Schumer wants to have because he wants to fund illegals' health care, makes no sense to me. I think he cares more about, and should care more about, what happens right here in the New York airspace and across the country, as we want to make sure we have air travel safe and controllers focused not on their mortgages, not on the next paycheck, not on food on the table, but actually on making sure you and your family are safe. And so with that, again, I'm delighted to have the president of the Air Traffic Controllers Union, NATCA, Nick Daniels, here with me. He's going to say a few words, then we'll go to Frank McIntosh from the FAA to say a few words, and then we're happy to take any questions from all of you. Nick?
So good afternoon. I am Nick Daniels. I am the proud president of NACA, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. I want to start with saying that I'm going to leave the political discussions for the politicians during this shutdown. Today, I'm proud to speak on the behalf of the dedicated American worker who operates the national airspace system and ensures the safety of over 3 million passengers and tons of cargo each and every day. I'm here to advocate for the end to the shutdown. We need to bring this shutdown to a close so that the Federal Aviation Administration and the committed aviation safety professionals can put this distraction behind us and completely focus on their vital work. This work does include fulfilling Secretary Duffy's goals of accelerating the hiring of air traffic controllers he just spoke about and modernizing our air traffic control system. Both initiatives are long overdue and require our immediate and our full attention. We do not have the luxury of time. We do not have time to waste on the unnecessary distractions created by this shutdown. So our message is clear: end the shutdown. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Frank McIntosh. I am the Air Traffic Organization Chief Operating Officer, and it is a privilege to be here. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Secretary Duffy and Nick Daniels for being here today. Once again, we went and saw an air traffic control facility staffed by men and women, air traffic controllers and technicians. Professionalism to safety is beyond reproach. And you see that amidst a very difficult time, a time of confusion where they show up, come to work, and keep people safe. What's on the line for us right now? We have a lot of momentum, thanks to Congress and $12.5 billion of a down payment of a modernization of an air traffic control system. We have a surge of air traffic controllers, per Secretary Duffy's plan, to get us healthy. I want to speak about Newark specifically. 24 controllers out of the 37 allocated, 9 in training. They are finally on the right path to get healthy, to provide critical services to this airport. I need those 9 individuals that are in training to just concentrate on becoming controllers and not add any other ambiguity to what they do day in and day out. You take that to 313 other air traffic controller facilities that are facing the same dilemma. Our controllers need the best. We're on the way of delivering that, but we also need to make sure that we come together and ensure that we remove that ambiguity and make sure that a government shutdown is not prolonged and we do not lose the momentum that we finally gained over the last 9 months, 10 months. We need to ensure that everybody understands what our controllers need and what they deserve. Our technicians are in the same boat. We're in the process of modernizing a very complicated air traffic control system. Any disruptions put us further and further behind. Is the air traffic control system safe? Yes. Secretary Duffy nailed it. It is very, very safe. But we have to be on the forefront of making sure that our air traffic controllers and technicians have the very best. When they have the very best, you have the very best. Let's please collectively get behind this, and let's make sure that this government shutdown is over in a hurry. Thank you very much. I'll go back to Secretary Duffy. Thank you.
Again, we hope there's a time and a place for discussions with politicians. And again, this is a continuing resolution that maintains funding at its current levels. There's time to have disagreement, but there's real impact on the great work that we're trying to do. And by the way, this is bipartisan work. America cares about the work that we're trying to accomplish here. It's not, blue or red. It's American, and this is truly having an impact on our ability to accomplish those goals. With that, if you guys have any questions for any of the three of us, we're happy to take them. Yes.
So, have you seen any increase in sick calls since the shutdown began? And if so, what happens when this operation is a significant number?
So we're tracking sick calls, sick leave, and have we had a slight tick up in sick calls? Yes. And then you'll see delays that come from that, right? Because again, our priority, I want to see your flight not be delayed. I don't want you canceled, but our priority is your safety. And so if we have additional sick calls, we will reduce the flow consistent with a rate that's safe for the American people. So we've had a slight tick ups, and they've been in certain areas, and we are managing that following that. Yeah. So you're talking about Second Avenue subway and the Gateway project. Just let's be clear, these are the two biggest projects in the Western Hemisphere. They're massive projects. Several months ago, I sent out a letter telling everyone who receives federal money to follow the law. And again, this is in regard to disadvantaged businesses. So there has been a tendency with some of these projects to look at race and sex as a disadvantaged business as opposed to the size of the company as a disadvantaged business. This is unconstitutional. It's contrary to law. And so we had sent out notice. Again, months ago, we let them know that this was going to go under review. When the shutdown happened, our Civil Rights Division, most of it was furloughed. So the review process is going to take longer than what we would anticipate. So that's the process in which we're working through. And again, this is not shocking to anybody. We've expressed our concerns months ago, and now it was brought to fruition before the shutdown. And again, I don't want to see these. The president in his budget fully funded these projects. We're not trying to shut down these projects. To the contrary, we're trying to make sure these projects move forward and move forward fast. They're important. But the question is, why would Chuck Schumer, who says he cares about the projects, shut down the government so we don't have the staff to review the contracting authority used on these projects? And is it done constitutionally? Yes. So how long can the system run safely? So for essential air service, that is going to be impacted as of Sunday. It was going to be Thursday. We found some more money to put into it. We're trying to do the best we can to keep this process with minimal impact. The controllers have to show up for work, right? They have to come to work. They're part of our critical infrastructure. The problem is they're going to show up for work and they're not going to get paychecks. And like everybody here, these are working men and women who rely on their paychecks, and they set up their payments consistent with when their paychecks are going to come in. And they're going to do the work. They're not going to get the check. And again, they have bills they have to pay. So now they're thinking about that at the same time that they're controlling the airspace, which I don't like that. That is not. We want them to leave their personal problems at the door when they go into a tower or into a facility. And again, they've expressed those concerns to me. They're going to be there. They're going to continue to work, but they might actually have to take. Some were saying I might have to pick up Uber. I work 6 days a week in the tower, and I might have to pick up some Uber jobs. So then they come in and work tired, exhausted, because they're trying to make that extra money to make ends meet, all the while working 6 days a week to keep you safe in the airspace. Yes? So absenteeism as a concern, again, we've had a few airports and we're tracking it. We don't have one facility that has had long-term issues with the sick leave, but that is concerning to me. And if someone has to take sick leave to drive Uber to make the difference, those are decisions they're going to make themselves. But of course, that's concerning for us. These are high-skilled, high-performing, safety-driven professionals. That I don't want them driving Uber. I don't want them finding a second job to pay the bills. I want them to get paid for the work they're doing today, keeping our planes in the air and our skies safe. Yes. What I'm saying is it's up for review, right? And so there's been issues in New York not using it appropriately. Again, looking at the race and the sex of the business as opposed to the size of the business, which is what the law was intended for. And so we're going to do a review because of what's happened in the past in New York. And again, we've been quite clear with New York and with others that that's the review that we're going to undertake. And so it's happening right now. And again, it's going to take us a longer time because we don't have the staff that's been furloughed because of the shutdown to get through that review process. Yes? So that's a great question. The question is, Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, Republicans have the White House. I know you know better than you know my answer is. You know the answer to this. In the House, Republicans passed a bill to fund the government, continue the funding levels, the funding streams that were in existence at the end of September. The problem you have in the Senate is that you have a filibuster rule. It's a 60-vote threshold. So Republicans by themselves cannot pass what the House passed. They actually need Democrats to vote with them to fund the government. And if Democrats say no, again, there's over 50% of senators in the Senate who have voted to fund the government. And by the way, it's been bipartisan. Several Democrats have voted to open up the government and to continue the conversations and negotiations. But when a majority of Democrats in the Senate say no, you can't get to that 60-vote threshold. So when I tell you that Democrats have shut down the government, it's Democrats who have withheld votes to prevent us in the Senate from getting to 60 votes, and therefore the government shuts down. So it's a 60-vote threshold, not a 50-vote threshold in the Senate. And again, if Leader Schumer wants to do a one-off and say, for this vote, you don't need Democrats, we'll just go with a simple majority, that's great. It'll open back up. But he's using his leverage point of the filibuster rule to make sure the government stays shut down, because you can't get to 60 votes without Democrats. That's the problem. I haven't seen the polling to which you refer, but I look at this and go, Republicans, again, have tried to just continue funding at current levels. Republicans have tried that. Democrats have tried to say there's other things that we want in this bill. And again, it does beg the question, why are we so concerned about illegals' health care? Why is that an issue? Again, we should care about Americans. We should care about American citizens, Americans' air travel. That's who we were elected to represent. And so I think the Democrats are misguided in what their priorities are. And they should focus on the American people as opposed to those who've come to the country illegally. Yes. So to take your first question, so in modernization, what we've done is tried to pull as much money forward as possible in all kinds of areas. I'm not trying to maximize pain. I'm trying to minimize pain. I'm trying to pull money forward and use money to make sure that we do all we can to function as well as possible. So we are continuing with the modernization effort. We're selecting an integrator, a project manager that's going to help us with this. I don't want it, no offense, Frank, but I don't want the FAA to manage this project by themselves. They're not project managers. So we're hopeful that that selection is going to be made by the end of this month. And that work is continuing right now as we go through that selection process. I would just note that we do have $12.5 billion out of $31.5 billion. A key component of that money that I don't have is the money to build the new software. Again, I'm using like a Windows 95 or a Windows XP, if you guys are old enough to know what those systems are like. That's the genre of programming that we're using. I want a brand new system, a brand new software system to manage our skies. I need the Congress to give us that, the rest of the money. I need those resources. And by the way, the new software, it's going to take us a while to have it developed, and then it has to be debugged, and then it has to be deployed. So this is the longest time frame of the issues that I have to deal with, which is why the longer I wait, the longer it takes. And so I do hope, and by the way, this is bipartisan. We're talking about partisan shutdowns right now. Democrats and Republicans agree with this, and I'm hopeful that they will move quickly as we come in after the shutdown, whether at the end of this year or the start of next year, to get us those resources. In regard to compromise, what Republicans have said is keep the current levels. Let's not change it. It's truly a continuing resolution. Just keep the government open and funded, and we have time to continue the conversations. But to be held hostage for health care for illegals, I don't think makes sense. Again, I don't think that's a compromise that Republicans are willing to make. President Trump has talked about America First, and America First means let's work on housing and health care and food and air traffic and air travel for American citizens. But to stand up and say we're going to fund something for those who are not here lawfully, I think is a problem for Republicans and the president. Yes? So we've had layoffs across the Department of Transportation, which FAA is part of. But in regard to critical staffing positions, like air traffic controllers, they have not been laid off, right? But the Civil Rights Division that reviews issues with the big projects in New York, they have been laid off. So again, if it's critical infrastructure, critical jobs that maintain safety, whether it's on our roads, our rail, our bridges, our airports, those folks come to work. But they come to work without a guarantee that they're going to get paid, which is why they're so concerned as they're in these towers controlling this airspace, thinking about what's going to happen in their own homes. Again, they're not wealthy. They don't have 3 or 4 or 5 months of cash sitting in their bank accounts. Like many of us, they go from one paycheck to the next, and they rely on that to pay the bills. And as of right now, that paycheck's not going to come, and that concerns them. Yes. So just to be clear, I don't have TSA under my control, so all the complaints on TSA don't come to me. But in regard to controllers, yeah, there's controllers that have called out sick, so we're tracking it, and I don't have a continual problem in one area, right? There's been, one facility one day, another facility another day. Some areas there's been a 50% reduction in some of the staffing, and again, we're tracking it, and we take the appropriate action necessary to make sure our skies are safe. And again, we have great managers that are here. If we see there's issues in the tower that are affecting controllers' ability to effectively control the airspace, we'll reduce the rate, and you'll see more delays, or you might see a cancellation. I'm willing to do that before we're willing to risk anyone's life in the air. By the way, we're here in Newark. At the end of April, early May, we had 2 outages that were very concerning. You saw the rate get reduced dramatically. We worked with Verizon and our other partners, and we put in redundant fiber lines as opposed to the old copper, and that has been functioning very well. The last stats I have for several months, Newark was the most on-time airport in the whole system. So things are going better here, and we're moving at a way different speed than what they moved in past administrations. Again, trying to address the problems as quickly as possible. We saw an outage at DFW a couple weeks ago. We had redundant lines in DFW, but they had a single point of failure in that system, which means you don't have redundancy. And that single point of failure failed, and you saw some mass outages that rippled through the system. Again, those are the issues that we're looking at, which is why part of the $12.5 billion is to rebuild the telecom infrastructure and make sure you don't have another Newark, you don't have another DFW. You take care of it, you do it right, you do it fast, and you make it worthy of 2025, not worthy of 1998. One more question. So again, shutdowns have an impact. They do have an impact. I think what's different here is, why are we shutting the government down? Right? Are Republicans trying to put more things in the continuing resolution? No. They're trying to extend the funding of the government so negotiations can happen. Don't change a thing. Just continue the current funding levels, which, by the way, a lot of conservatives don't like. Right? They might want to make changes themselves, but they said no. Just continue current funding. It's the Democrats who are trying to put in these ideological ideas of funding people who came here illegally and to fund their health care. And again, maybe older people don't care so much. You talk to younger people and talk about housing, affordability, health care, their ability to get a good job. The competition for housing, for health care, for jobs that happen when you bring illegals into the country is real for many Americans. And so, again, in this administration, we're going to put the American people first, the American people's priorities first, ahead of those who have come into the country unlawfully. And that's what President Trump and Republicans in the House and the Senate have said they're going to do. And it begs the question, why would Chuck Schumer want to change the funding stream for illegals, and to get that, be willing to shut down our government? It doesn't make any sense. Again, illegals don't vote for Chuck Schumer. They don't. But citizens of New York do, and there's real impacts in New York and in New Jersey, where we're at right now. And so I don't know what the strategy is. Again, continue the current levels of funding. Have a conversation. But don't try to take the American people hostage with a shutdown and make sure that controllers don't have their paychecks, because that makes you feel better because you're fighting for illegals. Well, no. These controllers say, well, fight for us. Fight for my paycheck. I work hard for you, Chuck. Maybe you should work hard for me. And again, take weeks, take a couple months, and have the conversation with Republicans, but don't hold Americans hostage because you want to fund illegals' health care. That makes no sense. Again, by the way, no offense, Nick, but controllers, a pretty wide array of political opinions. Again, probably lean a little more Democrat than Republican, but they want to be paid. They want to be paid for their work. Just like all you want to be paid for your work. They too want to get paid for their work. They don't have to think about where that paycheck's going to come from. But Chuck Schumer said, I want you to think about whether you can pay your mortgage or pay your car payment or put food on your kid's table, because I care more about illegals than I do about you. I think that's unacceptable. And again, I think it's my job to let you know what issues we're having because of the shutdown, what impact it could have on you, on your travel, on your projects. It's not cost-free. This does have an impact on the American people. And I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries should recognize that. And again, Republicans have both chambers, but Democrats have the votes that are necessary to open up the government. It's not a 50-vote majority in the Senate. It's a 60-vote majority in the Senate. And Democrats are using their votes to say, we want to keep this government shut down. And by the way, the vote to open up the government in the Senate was bipartisan. Democrats joined Republicans to say, yes, let's open this up. It was all Democrats that said, no, keep it closed. With that, we're going to keep you posted and updated as we deal with the continuing rollout and consequence of the shutdown. Like what happened today with controllers, we'll continue to keep you updated and apprised. But thank you for coming out today. We appreciate it.